Currently, the NBA is full of some of the most talented players the league has ever seen, which is why in today's video, we're going to be spicing things up a little and trade the highest rated player on every team to another random franchise. Kicking things off with Victor Wembanyama. After spinning this wheel right here, he ultimately lands in Cleveland. As for Donovan Mitchell, he ends up becoming a Dallas Maverick, playing alongside Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson. Now, one thing to keep in mind throughout this video is that I had to change some of the positions so the starting fives for every team wouldn't get messed up. The first player you'll notice is Kyrie Irving being swapped down to the point guard spot. And also, if I remember correctly, Klay Thompson was actually a shooting guard as well. But you know what? Let's go ahead and check out a couple of more teams. As you can see here, LaMelo Ball is in Brooklyn. Jason Tatum's being sent over to the Western Conference, suiting up for Denver. Now, with this acquisition, the Nuggets at this point have way too many power forwards on the team, so I wouldn't really bet my money on these guys being good. Pascal Siakam is now the highest rated player for the Pacers, which means Indiana didn't get lucky on the wheel. You could see that here as they have 83 overall Zach LaVine. Speaking of some of the most unfortunate teams in the league, if we head all the way down to South Beach, the Miami Heat have replaced Jimmy Butler with Kyle Kuzma. Now, I don't really have to say much about this group because I mean, this was a huge downgrade. Either way, it would be nice to see Bam Adebayo carry a team to the playoffs. However, that's not gonna happen. Minnesota went from one of the top teams in the NBA all the way back down to an oversaturated center field power forward. I don't know how to explain it, but this roster construction is just not it. We have the newly acquired Julius Randle here with Rudy Gobert. The player they got in return for Anthony Edwards was Alperen Sengun. Don't get me wrong, he's not bad at all. It's just I don't really see how this team's even gonna function properly. Speaking of the man himself, Anthony Edwards has arrived in Golden State to play with Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield. Warriors definitely landed on a great player. In 2K, he might actually be better than Steph Curry. The only bad thing is you don't have any point guards, so you know what? Let me swap Brandon Podziemski over to that position. I'm actually going to do the same thing for DeAnthony Melton as well. Now, heading over to the Philadelphia 76ers, be on the lookout for them to win a championship this year as they have acquired Giannis Antetokounmpo. Looking at his former team, they actually acquired Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Since he's playing alongside Damian Lillard, I bumped him up to the shooting guard spot. A team that I'm somewhat on the fence about is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we went over previously. There's just something about these teams where sometimes they make a deep postseason run. Boston Celtics, they have De'Aaron Fox instead of Jason Tatum. Definitely not good since they have Drew Holiday. The Los Angeles Clippers, I went ahead and moved James Harden back to his original position. That was due to the fact that my team acquired the greatest shooter of all time, Stephen Curry, which, by the way, I just realized I never showed footage of me actually going through and making this list, so here is that right here. Going into year number 13, we have Kawhi Leonard on the Memphis Grizzlies. Him and Ja Morant are around the same overall. The only bad thing about this swap is that Kawhi's a power forward, which means Marcus Smart is now completely alone in that spot. We've got through a lot of teams, so really quickly, let's do somewhat of a speed run. Luka Doncic has technically returned to the Atlanta Hawks. Jimmy Butler's in Charlotte, and LeBron James playing for the Jazz. In my previous video, which you should definitely check out, Kevin Durant was suiting up for the Los Angeles Lakers. The only reason I brought that up is because he has returned yet again. Ja Morant's in Sacramento, Cade Cunningham's in New York, Trae Young is in Orlando, while Paulo Banchero is a New Orleans Pelican. We have Jokic on the Spurs, Zion in Houston, Jalen Brunson in Phoenix, Tyrese Halliburton in Detroit, DeAndre Ayton in OKC, Lauri Markkanen gearing up for Portland. Last but not least, Scotty Barnes is a Washington Wizard. If I just so happen to forget anybody, don't worry, I'll show them on screen right here. Your top three seeds in the Eastern Conference at the All-Star break are the Atlanta Hawks, New York Knicks, and Milwaukee Bucks. If I were to keep it real with you, none of these are surprising to me. And I told y'all about Cleveland. Look at it. Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, Victor Wembanyama. I told y'all that these guys were going to be lethal. At this point in time, they are the 4 seed. They were this close to being at the top 3. The 6th place Washington Wizards is being led by Scotty. His former team, the Raptors, are just behind him in 7th place. But man, what is going on with Philadelphia? This starting 5 is astronomically good. However, for whatever reason, they may or may not miss the play-in tournament. Every single video, we stop to look at the worst team in the NBA in both the West and East. In this episode, the Jimmy Butler-led Charlotte Hornets have 11 wins and 43 losses. Not really much to go over here. They didn't get a point guard to replace LaMelo Ball, although the person they got was a very good player. At this point in his career in 2K25, not really the guy you'd want leading your franchise despite being a 91 overall. Going over to look at the opposite side side of the rankings, it's the San Antonio Spurs, Dallas Mavericks, and Minnesota Timberwolves. Nikola Jokic and Donovan Mitchell are the 1st and 2 seeds. But Minnesota, I don't know how you guys are this high up. Numbers say it's Julius Randle leading the charge, who's averaging 22.5 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. We have 2 California teams in 4th and 5th with Golden State and Sacramento. The Kawhi Leonard-led Memphis Grizzlies are in 6th. And you know what? I'm curious. Who's in 15th? We have LeBron James, Utah Jazz. Are you serious? Yeah. They normally don't even do this bad with Lauri Markkanen. In 10th, 11, 12, it's the Lakers, Suns, Clippers. At the end of the regular season, Luka Doncic wins MVP. Zachary Ricochet is Rookie of the Year. Amin Thompson, 6th man. Victor Wembanyama wins DPOY. The 4 other players in All-NBA first team are Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Tyrese Halliburton. Here is All-NBA second team. Don't know how LeBron made it, even though he's like the worst team in the league. All-NBA third team features Domantas Sabonis, Donovan Mitchell, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, and Ja Morant. Here we are now officially in the playoffs. Actually, that's not true. We have to go through the play-in tournament first. We have Memphis versus OKC. They're competing to find out who's going to be the 7th seed. Leading the charge was Jaren Jackson Jr. with 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist. Meaning, of course, the Grizzlies have moved on. Whoever loses this one is completely eliminated. There's no chance to come back from it. Phoenix just got smoked out the water. This box score is beautiful. We have Jalen Green and Zion both dropping 30 apiece. The Suns box score was also kind of cool to look at, but not nearly as beautiful. That's due to the fact that they only had 3 people scoring double digits. Up next, it's Indiana versus Washington. Yet again, it looks like we have another blowout with Zach LaVine's 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists. Shortly followed after that, the Bulls and Rockets lose both of their respective games. Hopefully, this matchup is going to be at least somewhat competitive. Probably shouldn't have said that because that's not what happened. Now the playoffs are officially set. There are so many games to go through that I don't really know if we should check out all of them. Might as well look at our very first matchup, which of course is between Joel Embiid's Toronto Raptors and LaMelo Ball's Brooklyn Nets. This game wasn't really too competitive either. Went ahead and simcasted through game 1 of every first round series, which was painfully boring as they were all blowouts. New York Knicks, Brooklyn Nets, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Philadelphia 76ers. These were all of the teams in the Eastern Conference to be eliminated, which ultimately leads to these second round matchups. In the West, it was OKC, Sacramento, Denver, and Memphis all losing. Now we have the Spurs versus Golden State and Dallas versus Minnesota. Kicking things off with Donovan Mitchell and Alpernan Sengun. Pretty high on this Mavericks team. Would not be scared to bet money on Donovan Mitchell coming through and, you know, winning a championship this year. We're gonna find out right now whether or not I made the right or wrong choice. So far, it's not looking very good for me because, yeah, Minnesota just won by 16 points. So now we have Joel Embiid facing off against Zach LaVine. Definitely don't see this one being competitive at all, which means there is a pretty good chance Embiid will make it past the second round. If he does that, who knows whether or not he'll win a championship. Atlanta Hawks and Warriors won both of their first games. Here we are over in Sacramento. We're not in Sacramento. We are in San Antonio, and Trey Jones just hit a full court shot. I didn't even have time to commentate. I don't know what the heck just happened. There are 18 seconds left. The game is tied. Here's Anthony Edwards dribbling on Devin Vassell. Has 10 seconds remaining. Brandon Podziemski, he did just roll off of a screen. Anyway, here's Draymond. Anthony Edwards, he's wide open. That's the game-winning shot. No, it's not. They get the rebound to call a timeout. If they manage to win the game right here, that would be insane. But anyway, here's Vassell with a quick jump shot, and it doesn't go in, so we have another overtime. Ultimately, it's the Golden State Warriors getting the victory. Despite the loss, Nikola Jokic had a 40-point triple-double. Meanwhile, Luka leads his team to a 50-point blowout. And oh my goodness, Luka, he had 49 points, 11 rebounds, and 17 assists. Yeah, when a guy's this hot, no way you can even really stop. That was so weird. Why did I say that? At this point in time, every single series is sitting 2 games to 1. Minnesota eventually comes out on top. Go up 3-1 like the Timberwolves. Toronto needs to get it done in Indiana, and they do just that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Anthony Edwards go on to win both of their respective games as well. Mavericks are in a desperate situation right now. Luckily, they have home court advantage, so I mean, the odds aren't totally against them. However, in game number 5, their season does come to a close. Same thing could be said for the Indiana Pacers. What about Atlanta? Are they going to do the exact same thing? Bucks have officially been eliminated, and there goes the man himself with 50 points, 18 rebounds, and 10 assists. Now he's competing against Joel Embiid to win the East. And there goes another blowout win for the Hawks. As you can see here, Anthony Edwards is playing against his former team in Minnesota. I can't tell you how many times I bet against the Timberwolves, and I've been wrong every single time. But you know what? I'm going to give it a go yet again. This time around, it looks like I may or may not be on the right track. Really quickly, let's progress through a couple of more games to see if this will be competitive at all. So far, both teams go up 2-0. What about game number 3? Okay, we have the very same result on both ends of the spectrum. Again, it looks like the Toronto Raptors have officially been eliminated. Back in the West, Julius Randle does keep his team's season alive. Game number 5, Minnesota wins by 23 points. I'm gonna be extremely butthurt if they somehow manage to come back. Thankfully, that's not what ends up happening. Now our NBA Finals matchup is officially set. I'm not exactly too confident on either of these teams coming out alive. I think this time around, I'm gonna go with Atlanta. So far, it looks like that was the better decision of the two. Luka Doncic had 46, 14, and 10 to get the dub. Now looking to tie the series is Anthony Edwards, and he eventually does manage to pull it off, winning the second game of the series. Game number 3 may or may not be a lot more exciting than the first two. Well, it was a lot more exciting if you were a Warriors fan because you guys won by 22 points. Anthony Edwards and Luka were going head to head the entire game, with Edwards is 54 and Doncic is 42. I would also just like to note that 77 had 18 assists as well. So far, he's been an absolute cheat code in simulation. Yet again, after simulating, the finals are tied. Ultimately, getting the 3-2 edge is the Hawks. They did this with Luka's 36 point, 14 rebound, and 14 assist performance. Jumping into game 6, Atlanta's up by 2 points. Brandon Podziemski puts up the free throw and actually misses. He really needs to knock this one down though. He puts it up and yeah, down it goes. I'm assuming Luka ended up fouling out somehow because he wasn't in the game to shoot these free throws. It's actually Dyson Daniels. But anyway, let's see it. Can he make both of these? He does actually manage to make the first shot. It looks like the second one is good as well. Here comes Anthony Edwards down the court. He dishes it off to Kevon Looney, who gives it off to Andrew Wiggins, and he shoots the 3 but misses. Just like that, the season has officially come to a close. The Luka Doncic-led Atlanta Hawks are officially NBA champions. Sure, all of you were also aware he's going to win Finals MVP as well. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to check out my most recent upload where we completely reset the Steph Curry era. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all in the next one. I'm out.